Good morning, students. Today is our lecture 14. Still, we are continuing chapter 4, surface chemistry. So, we have already discussed catalysis, homogeneous, heterogeneous catalysis, then shape selective catalysis, and we started the lesson with adsorption, absorption, types, mechanism, everything. So today we are going to start with enzymes. As you all know, enzymes are biocatalysts which are produced by living cells. So some of the important characteristics of enzymes, like enzymes, they are highly specific in nature. The way we studied in catalysis, the activity and selectivity. So same thing, selectivity means specificity. So likewise enzymes also are highly specific in nature. As for example, sugar is converted into glucose and fructose only in presence of invertase. Glucose is converted to ethanol and carbon dioxide only in presence of gymase. Urea in presence of urease. Maltose in presence of maltase. This is called specificity. Secondly, enzymes, they work under optimum temperature and pH as well. So temperature is the body temperature, that is 37 degrees Celsius, and the pH is 5 to 7. Now the mechanism of enzyme catalysis. Okay, so in step 1, enzyme, it combines with substrate and it forms enzyme substrate complex. This enzyme substrate complex, it forms enzyme product association, and then the enzyme is separated and the products are formed. And there are two models related with enzyme catalysis. One is lock and key model. As we say that a particular key can open a particular lock, likewise a particular enzyme can activate or specify a particular reaction. And the second one is induced fit model. Okay, so here diagrammatically you can see that when enzyme reacts with substrate, so their shape should be in such a way so that they can react and coincide with each other. This is enzyme substrate complex, and further enzyme is separated and the products are formed. Applications of enzymes, this is very important. Without enzymes, it would have been so many years for the digestion of food and so on. There are so many diseases. Deficiency of a particular enzyme can cause also, like phenyl ketonuria due to deficiency of phenylalanine hydroxylase. That is a brain disorder. Similarly, albinism due to triosinase, and that is a skin disorder, and so on. And one very important enzyme is learn it, streptokinase, and it is used for dissolving the blood clot. So from enzymes, catalysis, all the terminology, all the important points, my dear children, you learn from NCERT, and during our interaction classes, I am going to brief you about it. Now the next important topic, and this is the last topic of this chapter, the colloid state, the colloidal state. So as you all know, the solutions, it is divided into three categories, three types. True solution, which is also known as crystalloid, colloid and suspension. So we have to focus mainly on colloids. So colloids, they are heterogeneous in nature. They cannot be seen with naked eye, but powerful ultra microscope if you use, then they can be seen. So they cannot pass through they easily pass through the filter paper, but they cannot pass through parchment paper, cellophane paper, and so on. And there are certain important properties which are only shown by colloids. But before we go through those properties, let's see the classification of colloids. Okay. So far as classification is concerned, the first classification is on the basis of physical state, like solids dissolved in liquid, starch in water, liquids dissolved in liquid like emulsions, oil in water, water in oil. Then solid, solid in gas, gas in solid, aerosol, and so on. So just like solutions, there are 8 types of colloids on the basis of physical state, except one, and that is gas in gas. Why gas in gas cannot be a colloidal solution? Because it becomes a homogeneous mixture, and so far as colloids are concerned, they are heterogeneous in nature. Second is on the basis of affinity. Okay. So on the basis of affinity, colloids, they have 2 phases. One is dispersed phase, just like solution, and the second one is dispersion medium, which acts as solvent. So on the basis of affinity between the dispersed phase and dispersion medium, colloids, they are of 2 types. One is lyophilic and the second one is lyophobic. Okay. So as the name itself suggests, lyophilic means when there will be affinity between the dispersed phase and dispersion medium. And since there is affinity, so they are stable. They cannot be precipitated easily. Whereas lyophobic colloids, they are unstable. They easily get precipitated or coagulated. They do not have affinity with each other. This is the second classification. The third classification is on the basis of the particles, and here also 3 types. One is multimolecular colloids, second is macromolecular colloids, and the third is associated or aggregated colloids. Okay. So multimolecular like sulfur, gold, etc. And multimolecular means when large number of molecules, they aggregate and they result into colloidal dimension. Macromolecular, as the name itself suggests, polymers, they are protein, starch, cellulose, and associated colloids, these are also known as micelles. So when the concentration is less, then they act as electrolyte. But when the concentration becomes higher, then they act as associated or aggregated colloids, which are nothing but micelle. And the best example of micelle is sodium stearate, sodium palmitate, and so on. And the minimum concentration which is required for the formation of a micelle is critical micellization concentration, and the temperature at which such a formation takes place is known as Kraft's temperature, right? So these 2 are the very important terms here. What is CMC and what is Kraft's temperature? The minimum concentration required for the formation and the temperature at which such a formation can take place. Now the next, we are going to start with preparation of colloids. How do we prepare colloids? So there are so many methods. Some of the chemical methods are oxidation, reduction, double decomposition. As for example, you see H2S plus SO2. Now you can see sulfur here, oxidation state +4. And in free state it is 0. So double decomposition here -2 and that side it is 0. Oxidation, reduction. Then there are some other chemical methods, exchanging the solvent and so on. Second important one is Bradig's arc method, which is also known as electrical disintegration method. So the metal whose soul is to be prepared, suppose platinum, then we take both the electrodes of platinum. If gold is to be prepared, gold electrodes. If silver is to be prepared, silver electrodes. So the metal whose soul is to be prepared, that is chosen as an electrode, and both these electrodes, they are stuck with an electric arc. So what is the role of this electric arc? It generates tremendous amount of heat so that the metal gets vaporized, and these metals which are getting vaporized here is condensed with water so that the colloid is formed, and these colloids, they can be stabilized in presence of an ice bath. So what type of colloids do we prepare by this method? Souls of platinum, gold, etc. They are prepared by these methods. One more is, that is peptization. It is just reverse of precipitation or coagulation of colloids. Peptization means the phenomenon by which a freshly prepared precipitate is converted into a colloid in presence of an electrolyte, and that electrolyte is known as peptizing agent. And whatever manner you are going to prepare it, it's going to have some impurities. So the next is purification of colloids. Okay, so the first method is dialysis. All of you must have heard kidney dialysis and so on. Likewise, here also colloid, it is taken in a cellophane bag, and here the colloid is there. And as you all know that colloids, they can easily pass through the filter paper, but they cannot pass through the parchment paper. So here the membrane is semi-permeable. So what happens? The dissolved impurities, they come through it, they pass through it, but the colloids, they remain over there. But what actually happens, that they once again can enter into it, and therefore this water, it has to be separated out every now and then. But this process is so very slow, and therefore nowadays it is done in presence of electricity and is known as electrodialysis. Dialysis in presence of electricity. The third one is ultrafiltration. So for ultrafiltration, we need some ultra or graded filter papers. And how do we prepare that? The ordinary filter papers are taken, and by impregnating a colloidal solution so that the pores can be minimized. Now the next, after purification, properties of colloids. Some of the introductory points, as I said, that they are heterogeneous in nature. They seem to be homogeneous, as for example blood, but actually they are not. When you see them through microscope, then you can see that they are not homogeneous. Likewise milk also, when you see through ultra microscope, you can see soluble fats, they move from one place to another. So they are heterogeneous, they cannot be seen with naked eye and so on. Some important properties which are specifically shown by colloids only, like Tyndall effect. You must have heard about it. In cinema hall also Tyndall effect can be observed. This is scattering of light. So when a colloidal solution is placed in dark, then what happens? The path of the light becomes visible, and that is due to Tyndall effect, scattering of light. Since it was observed by Tyndall, hence it is known as Tyndall effect. Next is Brownian movement. And Robert Brown, actually he did this experiment with pollen grains, and when he soaked some pollen grains in water, after some time he could observe that those grains, they move randomly from one place to another. And likewise in case of colloids also, they move from one place to another in a zigzag manner, and this random movement of colloids is known as Brownian movement. Next is electrophoresis. and the phenomenon by which the particles of colloid they move towards oppositely charged electrodes is known as electrophoresis. And on the basis of this, if they are positive, they go towards negative. If they are negative, they go towards positive. So on the basis of electrophoresis, we can say that colloids, they bear charge also. They have some solution properties also, like they can show osmosis, they can have color because of the wavelength of the light which they are going to absorb, and so on. So these are the important properties of colloids. And one more important thing is that is coagulation, which is also known as precipitation of colloids as well as flocculation of colloids. So what is coagulation? The phenomenon, the property of settling down of colloids by adding excess of electrolyte, and that is known as coagulation. And normally lyophobic colloids, they easily get coagulated or precipitated. Why it is so? As they are unstable. And related with coagulation, one very important law is Hardy and Schulze rule. And the rule says that greater the valency of the flocculating ion, more is the power of coagulation, and vice versa. As for example, you see, suppose a negative colloid, arsenic sulfide. So in this case, the electrolyte which you add, aluminium, will have more coagulating tendency because it is trivalent, then divalent, then monovalent. Similarly, if a positive colloid is there, like ferric hydroxide, then naturally potassium ferrocyanide will have more power than. Similarly, for a positive colloid, ferrocyanide will have more tendency to coagulate than phosphate ion, which in turn will have more than sulfide, and so on. So this is very important, my dear students. State Hardy and Schulze rule related with coagulation. And finally, applications of colloids. In day-to-day life also there are plenty of. So next we are going to discuss about applications of colloids. So why does sky appear blue? Due to scattering of light. Similarly, why does sea water appears green? In day-to-day life, you see food articles, that juices, halwa, milk, everything is based on colloids. Then soils, they are also, when in soils what happens, the fertile soil, humus, it acts as a colloid over there. Blood is also a colloid, where albumin, what happens, which is a protein over there, and when bleeding starts, what happens? If you add ferric salt over there, then ferric chloride if you add, bleeding stops. Why does it stop? Because of coagulation, because of precipitation. Then electrical precipitator of smoke, which is also known as Cottrell precipitator. Then you must have studied in geography delta. What is the cause of formation of delta? So when river water comes in contact with sea water, then sea water has electrolytes, river water they have sand, mud, etc. Then what happens? Precipitation, coagulation, so that the level of river water rises, and that risen bed is nothing but delta. Then in medicines, children, some of the important medicines, milk of magnesia, that is used as an antacid. Then argyrol, it's a silver sole which is used as an eye lotion. Then colloidal antimony, it is used for the treatment of Kala Jar. Then colloidal gold, it is used in intramuscular injections and so on. And then cleansing action of soap and detergents, that also is based on colloids. So we have completed this lesson today. All of you revise it properly. We started with adsorption, absorption, types of adsorption, physical and chemical adsorption, applications. Then catalysis, In catalysis, homogeneous, heterogeneous, autocatalysis, shape selective catalysis, zeolites, then activity and selectivity of catalyst, then enzymes, its properties, some of the important examples, deficiency diseases, then colloids. Classification, physical state, affinity, particles, and so on. Then preparation, properties, purification, and applications. Okay, so thank you all. Up to here, you have to complete the assignments as well, whatever is given to you, and revise NCERT thoroughly. In text as well as exercise questions must be completed. Thank you very much.